What's up, everybody? You were tuned in to the Arrowhead Chief Podcast. I'm your host, Cris. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. I appreciate you tuning in. Hope you guys had a good weekend. I know we're coming off of a bad loss last night to the Baltimore Ravens, and we're going to get into all of that right now. As you know, we lost to the Baltimore Ravens 36-35. It was a surprising loss, of course, but there's a lot of things to unpack in this loss, and hopefully it will get corrected going forward. So let's talk about it. In the beginning of the game, Lamar Jackson, he threw a couple picks, and he threw one to Honey Badger, where Sammy Watkins slipped. He threw one right, like I think it was like maybe the first or second play. He threw one right to Honey Badger. He goes in for the pick six, and it's 7 right away. Then they march down the field, and they kind of get close to the end zone. He throws one towards the end zone in the triple coverage. Honey Badger picks it off again. The offense march down the field where they score. Then, during the game, it's a little bit, the Baltimore Ravens offense kind of settles down, and they do what they do best, and that's run the football. Now, we're knowing that the Baltimore Ravens are coming in with a lot of injuries. I think the telecast said that they have 27 players on IR. 27. That's a lot of players on IR. And so they was coming limping in. They were definitely not at 100% or at their full capacity of players. So, of course, going into this game with us not being, we're pretty much healthy going into this game, and we were figured to be the favorites. There was no reason why we shouldn't have been the favorites and not win this game. But unfortunately, the run defense, which has been a problem for the past several years, reared its ugly head in this game. Now, to be fair, the Ravens have one of the better rushing attack, even though they're down to practice squad, guys who are off the street. But let's not discount Latavius Murray. Latavius Murray is a decent running back. He is not. The only reason why he got cut from the Saints was because of money. It wasn't because of his play. Latavius Murray can play. Devontae Freeman can play. And then, of course, Lamar Jackson is the best running quarterback in the league. So dealing with that the whole game became taxing on the Kansas City Chiefs. It just did. So, of course, our run defense was not up to par. And I'm not making no excuses. It's got to be better. It has to be better. But in this game, it was not good at all. They ran all over us. Lamar Jackson ran when he wanted to. Whenever they wanted to pick up yards, they did. And kudos to the Baltimore Ravens. They stuck to what they do best, and that's run the football and then play action pass, which opened up a lot of receivers. Hollywood Brown had a pretty decent game. Mark Andrews got open on some plays. Of course, Sammy Watkins had a couple big plays. So it was all about just running the football, play action pass, and the defense had no answer to it. And it just goes to show that, we can't always just assume that, just because a team is down a few players, that we're just going to go in there and run shot. The Baltimore Ravens, they came in, put their chips all in the middle of the table, and they went full-fledged on us. And the talk of this game is what? That Lamar Jackson hasn't beat Patrick Mahomes in the last 3 meetings up until this point. Well, that had to be feeling Lamar Jackson. I don't care what I don't care what he said in his press conference before the week days before the game when he said this is not me versus Mahomes. This is the Baltimore Ravens versus the Kansas City Chiefs. No. Even he said after the game, we finally got that monkey off our back. And then it was gonna happen. Look, in due time, Lamar Jackson was gonna finally get a win over, the Kansas City Chiefs and Mahomes. It was gonna happen. So, and kudos to him for still fighting and battling even after those 2 picks. Because any other quarterback probably would have folded, and the offense would have been in a disarray. But kudos to the Baltimore Ravens for sticking to their guns on offense and defense because they made a few stops. They did make a few stops. But this run defense has to get better for the Kansas City Chiefs. We cannot allow teams to continuously run the football down our throats. And especially, we cannot allow backup offensive linemen bully us off the line. Because that's what happened. Their offensive line was pushing the defensive line around. Chris Jones, John Reed, Derek Nottie, Turk Warden, Frank Clark, they was getting pushed around. And then the linebackers had no chance. The linebackers were just too slow getting to the running backs and too slow, and there were too many big holes. The linebackers were getting blocked because the defensive line was getting pushed off the line. And it was setting up the play action pass, and there was wide open receivers. Hollywood Brown was wide open on a few plays, especially on one of the touchdowns. He was seamlessly untouched. And so that's something that has to be fixed. Another thing, Chris Jones. There was a lot of talk of him going from D tackle to now being on the defensive end. Last week, he made some sacks. He did. He came up big when his team needed him to be. But there's something there is something that we got to watch out for with Chris Jones being at defensive end. He's learning that he has to learn how to set the edge. The knock on Chris Jones is that there are a lot of times he over pursues, he bites, and he's always looking to sack the quarterback, and he sometimes allows running backs to run past him because he's so gung-ho at getting after the quarterback, and I believe that the Baltimore Ravens use that against Chris Jones. See, it's one thing to do that when you're rushing up the middle because you're just, you're going up the middle towards some guards, and if the running back is coming, you can usually just, you can pursue and see the running back coming up the middle and hit him. But it's one thing when the running back is stretched, is coming out on the side, to the left or to the right. You got to set the edge, man. And Chris Jones, in a lot of plays, whether it be the running back or Lamar Jackson, he got caught looking in the backfield, and the running back would run right past him. And he was just not athletic and fast enough to recover. It'd be one thing if Chris Jones was an athlete that ran a 4.4 defensive end, one of those freak of natures, but he's not one of those. And so that's something we're going to have to look at going forward. Will Chris Jones get better at setting the edge? Will he get better at recognizing when the run play is going to his side to the outside? So that is something that we need to look towards. But the name of this game is this. The defense made it to where the offense couldn't have no slip-ups. The defense was so bad that the margin for error for the offense was slim to none. And what happened? They made some costly errors. The pick by Mahomes was not good. But not even just the pick by Mahomes, because that was bad in itself because it gave Baltimore a short field. I think they was able to come down the field and cash in and score. The other thing is this, and I noticed that, and this even goes to last year. The Kansas City Chiefs need to learn to, when they have their opponent against the ropes. So when it was 14-7, and the defense actually made a stop, that is when I would like to see the offense finally, for a lack of a better term, put the kill shot in. What I'm saying is the offense needs to learn to take their opponent out. They're against the ropes. We need to learn how to land that haymaker. And a lot of times, even though the offense could be rolling, and yes, I know y'all gonna say, Chris, they scored 35 points. And yes, they did. But how much easier would life be if the Chiefs had went up 21-7? And then, because, when they stalled out, the Ravens marched down the field and made it 14-14 all. So what I'm saying is, how easier would this game have been when the Chiefs got the ball after that stop? They marched down the field and make it 21-7. Now the Baltimore Ravens would have to change their game plan. Because why? Because they got to score now. And they would have to start throwing the football more, which would stop them from running the ball. Because the Kansas City Chiefs, their strength is when they have a lead and the defense can they can pin their ears back and sit back in coverage and zone coverage and, make it life harder for Lamar Jackson. Because one thing, as great as Lamar Jackson is, one of his biggest flaws is sometimes he doesn't read the defense, where he's supposed to go with the ball. And sometimes he will throw it in double coverage because he's trying to make a play. So you would rather have him in passing downs than have him, running the football. So that's something that the Chiefs need to work on, is when they have their opponents against the ropes, they need to have it to where they can, put the kill shot in, take the team out, put that knockout blow in, make it harder for them to come back. Because that's the one thing that is our biggest strength on this team, is being able to apply pressure on their offense to make them scramble. Now they got to throw the football because they got to score quick to come back in the game. And that's our biggest strength. So I would just like to see the Chiefs do that a little bit more. Now, let's talk about Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And of course, he's the talk of the game. Because why? Because he fumbled the football when the Chiefs were marching down the field with like a minute something left. They marched down the field quick. Pat threw the ball down the field to Byron Pringle. They pretty much got down to like the 30-yard line. They were right there in field goal range. Now, the gripe is what? We have two different arguments. There are some of the fan base who are saying Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a first-round running back. We should be able to put it in his hands to kill the clock. And I agree. We should be able to do that. And I believe that Andy Reid, and this is something that we got to remember, Chiefs fans. What was the biggest gripe? What was one of the biggest things that Chiefs fans wanted to see coming into this year, this new season? The Chiefs run the football more, right? You guys, and I'm included in that, wanted to see the Chiefs run the football more, be able to run the football in certain situations, especially in when we're trying to march the football and kill the clock, be able to hand the football off and run it. But there's another side of the Chiefs fan who want Patrick Mahomes to have the ball in his hand. Now, last year, a lot of times, even in running situations, Andy would call a passing play, and he would keep the ball in Mahomes' hands. And more times out of none, what would happen? Pat would convert, or he would make good on that deal. Whenever he would call a passing play, Mahomes would convert it, and I understand that, and I don't disagree with it. Pat is the franchise quarterback. He's the best player in the league. You got to put the ball in your best player's hands. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they put the ball in Tom Brady's hands. The Ravens last night put the ball in Lamar Jackson's hands. When you have that caliber of player, it's hard for you not to. And it's always been that way. You put the ball in your best player's hands. Whereas if you're like the Tennessee Titans, you put the ball in whose hand? Derrick Henry. That's their best player on their team. That's how they're built. Even the Cleveland Browns, even though Baker Mayfield is the franchise, Nick Chubb is the best player on the team. And so they usually put the ball in Nick Chubb's hands to win the game. When it comes to the Chiefs, usually, and last year they did this, they put the ball in Patrick Mahomes' hands. And like I said, I don't disagree with both sides. Yes, you should be able to put the ball in Clyde's hands and have belief that he's going to convert or at least get some more yardage up the field so to kick the field goal. But I also believe, yes, you should put the ball in Pat's hands because more times out of any, he's going to convert whatever play that he runs. And maybe, did Andy get conservative? Should Andy Reid have went for the kill? Should he have tried to score instead of being so conservative? Because you had 2 timeouts. I think 2 or 3. Man, all 3 timeouts. But should Andy have been more assertive? Should he have made good on what he had going? Because they were marching down the field. Like I said, they went down the field real quick. So it would have made sense for the Chiefs to put the ball in the offense in Patrick Mahomes' hands, let him go for the score. Personally, I would have went for the score. I think they should have went for the score, got close. If they don't get it, they have the timeouts. If you don't get it, guess what? Send butt kicker out there, kick the field goal, right off in the sunset. We win the game. You know what I'm saying? Yes, the defense looked a little shaky, but it's always good to leave, with a win and still, and then you fix the problem which you need to be fixed, which is the run defense in this case. But unfortunately, they gave the ball to Clyde. The defense, and kudos to the defensive end for getting his hand in there and knocking the ball out of Clyde's hands. He knocked the ball out of Clyde's hand. Clyde fumbled the football. Initially, game over. The Ravens ran a few plays, run plays, got to 4th and 1. Harbaugh asked Lamar Jackson, does he want to go for it? They went for it. They converted. Game over. And kudos to the Baltimore Ravens. They came out ready to play. They fought. They didn't give up. They, when their backs were against the wall, they didn't fold. They kept coming. And at the end of the day, guess what? They were rewarded with the win. Now, what does this mean for the Kansas City Chiefs? It just means that the Kansas City Chiefs need to tighten up. Because next week, it don't get no easier. We got a division game. We got the Chargers. And the division is tight right now. The Raiders, they feeling good. They 2-0. They just beat the Steelers, and they beat the team that we just lost to last night in a barn burner. The Denver Broncos, 2-0. They looking good too. So we got to get this division game next week. That's what's important, to still have our thumb on this division. Because at the end of the day, we want to win this division. So, going forward, they need to tighten up this run defense. They need to tighten up this run defense. Now, after this game, hopefully Willie Gay Jr., when he comes off of IR, when Willie Gay comes back, hopefully fully healthy, he can come back. Hopefully Spags, and I'm going to get into Spags in a minute. Hopefully Spags puts him in the lineup, back in the lineup. You know, I'm sure they're going to ease him in. But still, put him back in the lineup. And I think Willie Gay Jr. will help with the run defense. I'm not saying that Willie Gay Jr. is going to be a savior, but he will help with his speed and his knack for finding the ball. He will help in the run defense. He definitely will. Hopefully they keep Nick Bolton out there. I know they love Ben Neiman because Ben Neiman knows the playbook, but I'm sorry, they need to start putting their full athletes out there, which takes me to Spags. There should be no reason that Juan Thornhill should have had 11 snaps last night. No reason. Look, I know they love Sorensen, and look, I love Sorensen too. Dirty Dan always comes up with big plays. He does. So I even though I may have my gripes against Dan Sorensen, he's not the most athletic person. When he's one-on-one with tight ends, he's not the best. But he always makes a play here and there that either wins us the game or puts us in position to win the game. So I'm not here to bash Dan Sorensen, but I've always said that Dan Sorensen is at his best when he's playing that hybrid linebacker where you let Tyrann Mathieu be able to roam the field, do what he does, and you let Juan Thornhill be that free safety deep and let him do his thing. Let him guard the tight ends. Let him be in coverage. And I don't know what's going on with Juan Thornhill and Spags and why they refuse to play him, but come on. 11 snaps, it's got to be better than that. It's got to be better than that. Spags, I don't know what it is about him not playing certain people, but they need to figure that out. They need to figure that out. So, going forward, they got to fix this run defense, man. Because like I said, it's not going to get easier. We got the Chargers coming into Arrowhead next week. Morning game. Got them coming in, division game, and they're not gonna let up. And they feel like and the Chargers are coming in pissed because they feel like they got cheated against the Cowboys. So initially, we could be in last place right now if the Chargers game didn't go the way it went. But we have a chance to come in, win this game, fix the leaks in our defense, and come away with a W in Arrowhead. So, and I'll dive deep into the Chargers and Chiefs game later on this week. My cousin Mark will be coming back in, and we will discuss that game. We're also gonna probably recap a little bit. I'm gonna get his thoughts on yesterday's game, last night's game against the Ravens. So stay tuned. That will be dropping later on Friday. I will be dropping this one probably later on today or Tuesday. So that's my time today, everybody. I thank you, man. And buck up, Chiefs Kingdom. I know everybody, I know our fan base. We could be doom and gloom. The sky is falling sometimes. But look, I'm not here to tell you how you're supposed to feel. Feel how you feel. Because as a fan base, you have that right to feel whatever you want to feel. So if you feel like you have concerns, and I have a little bit concerns about this defense, But I'm here to tell you it will get better. I trust this team. I trust Andy Reid. I trust his coaching staff. These guys, Eric Bieniemy. I think Spags will get it together. It's early. Usually defenses, it takes a minute for defenses to come along in the early part of the season. So I'm giving it a time. I'm giving it time that the defense will get it together, especially by mid-season. So don't give up. Buck up. I know you're mad. I know you're not happy. I know you got your concerns, but just put your trust in this team. It will get better, okay? Thank y'all. And like I always say, subscribe, like, share, follow me on any social media platforms, Arrowhead Chief Podcast, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok. Also, if you want to listen to this podcast, if you don't have it on YouTube, also subscribe to my YouTube channel. I need y'all to subscribe to the channel, man. I need y'all to subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the notification button, man. So when I drop the episodes, y'all get it that way. But if you're not into the YouTube and you want to listen to it on whatever podcast outlet that you listen to, Arrowhead Chief Podcast is available on that. Spotify, Apple, Google, Amazon Music, Breaker, Stitcher, Overcast. They're all Arrowhead Chief Podcast is on all of them. So once again, thank y'all. Hope y'all have a better week. It's gonna get better. Thank y'all. I'm out.